Welcome to the People Chronicles. I'm Jackie Hoffman, and today we're joined by Jim Speese. And Jim, it's so nice to have you here with us today.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, we start our podcast each and every week, same question, so it's not a trick question for you. What do you want our listeners and viewers to learn from your story today?
Well, that's a good question. I'm a musician, and I teach, and I'm a writer. These are three things that I do that I love to do. And I talk to my students all the time about what they want to do with their lives. And if you're going to learn anything from me, and I'm not sure you should, but if you're going to learn anything from me, it should be to do what you love to do, because you'll always love what you're doing, regardless of the money.
And you never feel as though you're working a day in your life, right?
There are some days I feel like I'm working. I won't lie.
I love the shirt that you wore today only because they're celebrating 40 years. The Dark Side of the Moon is celebrating 40 years. So I was like, wow, celebration of that, huh?
Yeah.
It's pretty good. Great
not
timing.
A bad album.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
So we're going to talk about your stay in Berks County. You left Berks County. You came back to Berks County, and everything that you've done in between, which is a whole heck of a lot. So
it's a long story.
Yeah,
I'm 85 years old.
Exactly. And so you're not just on stage, but you're also writing on the blackboard as well, which is it's really funny because, you know, I'm sure you have a lot of young girls and listeners and viewers right now that are looking at you and saying, wait a minute, I know him.
Yeah.
I saw him on stage the other night. Wait a minute, he's my teacher. So where do you teach and what do you teach?
Well, I teach English, post-World War II American literature, actually. But I teach at Albright College in Reading, but also teach at Lehigh University in Bethlehem, where I'm getting my PhD in post-World War II American literature. So I'm teaching there while I get my PhD, and that's where I teach. That was the question, right?
That was the question.
Yeah,
but I'm like more intrigued by, wow, that's a lot of history going on there. Yeah, indeed. And you are also a part of the band Cloud Party.
I am. Cloud Party is my band. I'm a singer-songwriter. We've got 5 albums out over the past 15 years or so. There's a new one just out, and I've been doing that. Love it. And that's a local band. We've been playing original music locally since 1996 or 7, and just really, enjoying it.
You're catching up to Pink Floyd, or you
Yeah,
will.
that's true.
No.
There'll be a 40th anniversary of our first album. Yeah.
And so how do you find balance between both of those things that you love to do so much? Where do you find the balance of, going here and being an educator and then kind of letting loose and really enjoying the musical side and writing side? It all comes together. But and I guess I answered my own question where the balance is. But when did you start writing and deciding that you wanted to get into education?
Well, those are two different stories. I've been a writer since I was a kid. In fact, early on, I read comic books and wrote my own comic books. So I thought,
Neat.
And I'm not much of an artist, but I would draw the pictures. But really, for me, the story was the thing. So even when I was a teenager, I was writing stories, and late teens, I was sending them out to magazines and stuff and hoping to get published. So I was really into that all the time. As for when I became an educator, that's something that came to me later in life. I have been. I started coaching because my niece started playing volleyball. I also play volleyball. And
that's right.
So
it's all coming back.
There's people out there going, hey, I know that guy from volleyball. I beat him in a volleyball match. There's a lot of them. But she started playing volleyball, and so I went and helped at her volleyball practices. I helped him coach. And my sister said, you should be a coach. And everyone's like, you should be a teacher. You're really good, And I don't know. So I got dragged into it, didn't want to. When I was a kid, I hated teachers. I thought the last thing I ever wanted to be would be a teacher of any kind, But as it turns out, they dragged me in, and I love it. It's great. And because I was such a smart, can I say ass? Smart ass? Can I say smart
Sure
ass?
you can, for now.
Because I was such a smart ass as a kid. Like, nobody gets away with stuff in my room. I know what you're doing because I was just like you. But yeah, so anyway, I became a teacher, and that came to me late in life. I went to college. A friend of mine, all these things are so connected. I was working with the Boy Scouts, and a friend of mine who was a mother of one of the scouts that I worked with, she worked at Albright, And she's like, you should finish your college education. I know you started. I'm like, it would cost too much. But she worked in the financial aid office. She made it work. Next thing, she calls me like 2 days later and says, I got a package for you. And I went in and she had a package for me, and I finished my college degree, and I've continued on with that. So.
Now, did you continue going to school and working at the same time?
At the time I was writing and doing some, I forget. Oh yeah, I was working just like odd jobs at the time. So yes, I was working because college was paid for, but I still had to eat. So.
Right, of course. And you said you're also a writer for the newspaper?
Yeah.
Okay. And what type of topics do you cover?
And this is a really good lesson. I started writing reviews for the paper, decades ago, because I just, editors or writers of the newspaper would write about I had a band when I was a teenager too, not Cloud Party. And they would write about us. And so I knew them vaguely. And I said, how do you get this gig? Writing about music. I mean, that's totally cool. Like I could do that. And I'm like, oh, you should try it sometime. So I said, well, how do I do that? How do I write a review, for instance? And I said, well, if you want to write a review, just tell us what you want to write. Then we'll see if you can do it. So I'm like, okay. So I was very young, and I wrote a review of an REM album, I think, and they liked it, and they took it, and they ran it. They didn't pay me, but I was excited.
But it was okay because you loved doing it.
Right. But so then a couple months later, I said, all right, well, I'm going to make something out of this. And I wrote like a 10-page presentation of why I should be the local music correspondent for the paper. And they said, okay. So I did that for many years. I had a local music column for the Reading Eagle every week for a long time. And now I don't, because I'm so busy, I pulled back from that. So I only write occasionally for the paper.
But you're very persistent in what you do and how you do it and when you do it, which is really good. So
I suppose.
I like that. What we're going to do is take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to find out if you ever left Berks County, which I know in the back of my mind you did, why you chose to come back to Berks County. And what I'm finding out about you is you're a success at whatever you do. You have a band. You're an educator. You were involved in Boy Scouts teaching. You were a volleyball coach. And you're a writer. Everything just all comes together, and you take one little foot in there and take a chance and you win. So we need to find out how you become that winner. And we're going to do that when we return on the People Chronicles.